Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Welcome to today's Grain Market Blast. It is Friday, the 7th of November. Yep, no idea where the week went either, to be quite... Yeah, or the year, quite frankly. You join
Pretty
myself
much.
and, yeah, right. You join myself and the gorgeous, the glamorous, the goddess of grain herself, Mrs. Angie Setzer, where Angie will be providing us with a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, I'll get the boring legals out of the way. Nothing discussed on this podcast is trading or investment advice, yada, yada, yada. Nothing's an endorsement. We'd be very clear if it was. Yada, yada, yada. Do your own due diligence. We're here to add some value, maybe put a smile on your face, especially if I've got a couple of calculators in front of me. regular listeners will know what we're talking about there. But anyway, Angie, how are you on this fine Friday?
I am great.
Oh, no. Oh, I can't believe you did that. I was
I
all
did.
prepared.
It was a fake out. We call it a fake out. Friday fake out. So no, I'm super. Of course, it's Friday. I am a little freaked out, right? Like by what you said. It's November 7th. My 21st harvest is pretty much wrapped up, and I don't
Ooh.
like that. Yeah, like I don't feel too awful far removed from when I was offended. Like there used to be this old guy that bought soybeans for big crusher in Indiana, and he called me child. And like when he called me that in 2008, I was like, "Whoa, buddy." And then he called me that in like 2019, and I was like, "Thank you." And now I just want to find out where he lives because he's obviously retired. And I'd like him just to call me child once because I
Yeah,
think I'm
right.
very childlike. We are not children here anymore, unfortunately. So, but anyhow, yeah, it's Friday. Yesterday was a gross sort of market day. We could have just done away with that, not had that. Would have been nice for me. I wouldn't have minded that one. We could have skipped it, but a lot of it, and everyone kind of was like, "Oh, it's the China thing," and we've had this conversation, more than once, obviously this week. But I feel like the China narrative is the easiest one to point to. Like, you don't really have to spend a ton of time doing much research, and really, it's just kind of the easy, like, "Oh yeah, it's China. Like, they're not going to buy as much as we thought they were going to," and some of these other things, but we've seen kind of a stack of bullish influence in the soybean market. It's not just China that pushed us up the buck 20. It was China, inflation trade, Argentina strike potential, all of these other things that
Multifaceted.
was very multifaceted this
There
month.
you go. Look at that.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. We had the EUDR in there as
Yes.
well, which, kind of underpinned a lot of stuff. And so yesterday, we had a lot of those things kind of get removed or trimmed or whatever. This week the cash market has shown us, you saw Gulf values fall about a dime yesterday, and really just more of an established sort of, hey, China is probably going to buy the 12 million metric ton they said they were going to by the end of the year. They've already penciled the sort of framework and are allowing, they did announce overnight, they are allowing Louis Dreyfus, I think it was CHS, and someone else to sell soybeans into them again, and all of these things. But, to see the cash market cool down, and to kind of recognize that China is going to come in for what we said. Like, but what's funny to me is we have the same people that said China is going to come in for zero, and that exports need to be 1.3 billion, that are now like, well, China's only going to come in for 12 million metric tons and blah, blah, blah. And so that was part of it. Excuse me. The cash cooling was a negative sign, but cash cooled also because we had the resolution to the strike. Like, there were a lot of folks that were kind of nervous. Argentina already feels short anyway. And so if we were going to have a strike at their crushers or something weird like that, there was going to get additional short in that regard that was going to be bad, that also got removed from the market. So
Right.
we got cash market cooling. China, obviously not coming in and killing themselves to buy a bunch of soybeans that they don't really need. You had the Argentina strike resolution, and then we had this negative jobs sort of number. Like, we're kind of operating, blindly when it comes to economic data, but we've seen a
Yeah.
lot of things, right? Like, banks are borrowing more from the central bank. Like, there's indications that, you're not seeing the flow of money into them like you would expect. You're seeing the highest level of car repos since 2009. that jobs data yesterday, the big headline, and I read an article this morning that was like, oh, well, this is a misdirection, or this isn't as bad as what it seems, but still vibes, right?
Yeah.
And so, to think that we have the largest amount of layoffs in October since 2003, and then I think we're kind of recognizing, like, all I can think of when I think of AI anymore is Michael Brown's meme with the elephant.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna
Where
go
he's
further into detail.
the elephant is sucking on this
The
says
elephant. The
it's
elephant's talking on the elephant.
yeah.
That's what it is, and that's what AI is, right? Like, but that's what I'm thinking about, and I think that's what we're kind of coming to the realization. So, we have seen an inflation factor come into play. That's part of why you've seen wheat catch a bid, and
Yeah.
we've seen soybeans catch a bid. The corn catch a bid. Like, you have outside investors. We think, we don't know because we don't get CFTC data anymore. Not like it matters.
Yeah.
Like, but you have this sort of, you know, growth in outside investment on the idea that we're going to have inflation. And have we ever had inflation during a recession?
That's a very good question. Answers on a postcard, please.
Right? Is it possible? I don't know. I mean, we can do anything we put our mind to now, like Keynesian economics, all of these things. Like, who knows what
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
come
yeah,
of it?
exactly.
But that's the problem, right? Yesterday was kind of you had a sort of negative setup. Like, had we not had the negative jobs data and the stock market down and this worry over AI with what's his face Altman saying like, "Oh, the government will bail us out if shit gets
Yeah,
too,"
that's
like,
ridiculous. That whole thing, basically like all these huge spending promises, and then going as soon as people start asking around and saying, "Oh, can you actually afford this?" It's like, whoa, but the government's got to backstop it. And you're
yeah,
like,
if we don't,
well,
if we can't, if it's a bad deal, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just money. We've made it up anyway. Like, pay me, and then in the meantime, you have people lined up at food banks. Like, we were talking about trillion, like, we're just, it's a rough time out there,
yeah,
right? And in the universe. And so that played into it. And I said to a lot of guys yesterday when talking to them, and I'm not being sexist when I say that, I literally just spoke to men all day yesterday, that, like, we
just to add, this is for Angie's work. This isn't just like just something she likes doing, just calling up
yeah,
random men.
it is. I do work with farmers all day long. That's at least during the daytime. But oh god, it got worse. Anyway,
Oh God, I'm like a quick, move on, move on.
I said to everyone, basically, like, part of the problem that you have when you have these big moves higher, right? When you're up 20, when you're up 15, when you're up 20, then you step back 12, and then you're up 20 again or whatever. Like, your support and your resistance gets really wide apart. And so
Yeah,
you can have a day where you lose 24 cents. And I'm not going to say it's not negative to sentiment or whatever, but you really didn't do much. Like, we didn't break $11 on the Jan 26, right? Like, we did break 11.12, but we didn't really. So, like, there's certain things that we'll see. We've just got to establish the range. But I still say we're going to be hard pressed to trade above 11.40 on the January without the USDA and without confirmation from the USDA next
right.
Friday that the crop is smaller. Like,
And
that.
do we get that because of a lack of data, or are we going
No,
to get
we
that?
won't have the lack of data. They will have data. There's a lot of talk that they didn't collect anything in October.
Oh, remember
They
you said, but
did.
they did. Yeah, yeah. I remember
They
you said
did.
that.
They're analyzing it currently. I have been told, by Lance, like Lance and Co. Like, that's part of why they pushed it back 4 days,
Right.
is they wanted more time to be able to put the info together. And so we have to see, but really, if we maintain a 53 bushel to the acre soybean crop, which I struggle to see that we did, but if we did, it changes a lot of things. Or at the very least, China can come in, buy what they're going to buy. We can maintain the export outlook that we currently have, maybe kick it up a little bit, and you still are, static or neutral. You
Right.
could sit at 11 for a while, or 10. Like I said, I figure we're 1065 to 1135 on the front month
Got
for a
you.
while. So, flipping over to corn and wheat, corn didn't lose as much as everything else yesterday, but corn hadn't gained as much. Everyone kind of has ignored or missed the fact that wheat had quietly gained 60 cents. I did a show yesterday, and they're like, well, why does wheat keep going lower? And I'm like, hold on, like, let's pull up a chart here. Wheat had the highest close since the end of July, the day before yesterday. And so, it does still stink. Like, believe me, 550 wheat doesn't save anyone like heart palpitations in a good way anyway. But it was one of those things where like corn just basically meh. In part because inferior basis is somewhat soft or not necessarily soft. It's just this is where we're trying to finish the crop and egg. We're going to struggle to put it away because they're in areas that are storage for in a normal year, and they did have a phenomenal yield. There are some things that go down.
Oh, sorry, Angie, you seem to be breaking up a little bit.
I am.
Oh, no, that's better. I don't know. Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know what happened. I'm sorry. I
No,
guess
that's
my
fine.
internet. It's raining here, so maybe that influences
Maybe.
it. But am I better now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, good. But yeah, so South Dakota, like there's a few places, but in the whole host of oddities too, we're bringing corn in from Iowa to Indiana on the rail, which is nearly unheard of. Like just not really something you tend to.
Right.
And so it's a weird year. And so, yeah, I'm kind of babbling at you, but from an overall standpoint on the grain side of things, like what happened yesterday, again, like I said, I think that was purely inflation, purely, like we had built this thing up quite a bit. Let's go ahead and pull the leg out from underneath it. I mean, wheat and corn both never even revisited the previous day's close. Yes. They just like basically someone had got to the end of the day and was like, well, that's a sell. And just, got just absolutely, piled into right off the start. And so this we saw. I would call it consolidation. We'll watch, what's going on in cash. We're going to be paying attention to Argentina now. You guys watch and see. Tell me the first person who shows me a report that says that the Argentina farmer, that there's a physical short in Argentina at the export side of things because the farmer isn't selling. The first person that sends me that report that I'm fully expecting to see in another 3 weeks here is going to get a Kansas hoodie, just so you know. I have a feeling here, everyone's talking about the big Argentina crop, but we also just had a frost a couple weeks ago ahead of harvest and are dealing with really heavy rain. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we don't start hearing by the end of the month, just, wow, the Argentina farmers really holding those supplies out of the pipeline. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Other than that, we're just up a little bit here today on wheat's kind of recovering a bit of what we lost yesterday. Corn is flat. Wheat's down a couple. We're right at support level in both corn and wheat. So we'll see how the day goes. Same could be said for beans. Like it'd be nice to see us gain back a bit of what we lost yesterday, at least stay above like that 11-10, 11-12 sort of area in January. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, Angie, thank you so much, as always, my darling, for giving us the update. And also just thank you for being your awesome self all week. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate you. And again, always hope we add some value to your day. Whatever you're doing today and the weekend, myself, I'm going to speak for Angie. We both wish you a safe and amazing weekend. And yeah, we'll see you all on Monday. Take care. Much love.
I wish you a safe one, but I hope it's boring there. You can't speak for me.
Well, I'm about to go and meet our friend Michael Brown for a pint. So, yeah, I'll check in with you on tomorrow.
You post that you paid since he threw you.
Wow, yeah, I saw that. On that note, we'll see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, guys.